Welcome back to the starters. We're going to get to our Rockets-Clippers second-round predictions in a second. But look, we have to go back to Saturday night, even if it's just briefly, talk a little bit about one of the best
the boxing fight. No.
No, that was a bore. No, one of the best basketball games in recent memory. Game 7, Spurs-Clips. It was, as Doc says, a series for the ages and definitely a Game 7 for the ages as the Clippers, with a little help from Chris Paul, off the glass with a second to go.
Bonkers.
Gets the Clips the Game 7, 111-109 win in a again, just an unbelievable 7-game series.
It was beautiful.
31 lead changes, 16 ties in that game.
And you see it here, the sheet of paper that the Clippers players were given before the series against the Spurs. Everyone there, you see a whole lot of Spurs logos from the guys at ESPN and CBS and Grantland. And hey, the starters there. Oh, wait. That's Taz Mellis picking the Clippers in 7. Even calls the number of games.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is going to be the biggest accomplishment of my life.
Wow.
I'm 33, I got some time, but I think this is it.
Wow, it's all downhill.
It's
all downhill from here.
That's it.
All right, well, let's get to the Rockets-Clippers series here. Wow, we're all over the board here. Some of us taking the Clips. Trey says it goes 7 again. Maybe another Chris Paul game winner.
Let's hope so.
Tass and I say Clippers and Skeets. At this point, I just can't disagree with anything Tass picks.
Tastradamus.
So I'm on board with Tastradamus. But Lee, going with the Rockets and 6. And I'm going to imagine that the whole Chris Paul hamstring injury is a big reason why you're leaning towards Houston.
Huge reason. I think the Clippers have got so much to overcome. They've just come off this emotionally and physically draining series, possibly without their best player. We don't know for how long. Even if he does play, he probably won't be 100%, certainly for those first 2 games. The Rockets are deeper. They have their own superstar in James Harden. Dwight Howard was fantastic against the Mavs. They're fresh. They're ready. They've got home court advantage. To be honest, I'm a little surprised I am the only one picking the Rockets because I think the Clippers did such a great job against the San Antonio Spurs, but now they've got to get up for it again on only 2 days rest, and I think that really is going to play into it.
Yeah, this was a very difficult series for me to pick. Chris Paul's body is a huge question mark, especially with his team being very thin. Chris Paul on the basketball floor, is he going to trust his body with a little hesitation, going side to side? It's highly unlikely, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're right. There is going to be a bit of a letdown from the Spurs series to this series. I think even Doc Rivers saying post-game that, hey, we're going to have to play a lot more guys. And I decided that in Game 1 against the Spurs because you know what? The Spurs are a better team than whoever we're going to face in the second round.
Right.
He said that. We know that. But maybe this is a tiny thing for the team to rally around, for the team to say, hey, we got to pick it up, our guy's out, and we know that we can play without him. Because they did for that stretch in Game 7 and when Chris Paul was injured last year. So that's something for them just to bank on a little bit. But this series is going to go down to the wire, I think.
It's tough. I mean, you're going Clips in 7. Let me ask you this about the James Harden. And look, they split the season series, but Dwight Howard didn't play in any of those games. Blake Griffin missed 2 of them. But one thing that did happen, Harden played them, of course. He didn't shoot the ball all that well. J.J. Redick, who's a bit of an underrated defender, did a great job of at least containing him. Harden still got to line a lot, but only shot something like 38, 39% from the field in those 4 games.
Well, he needs to dominate. James Harden does. He needs to be what Chris Paul is to the Clippers. He has to be to the Rockets because for the Rockets to have a chance in this series, they have to have Dwight match whatever DeAndre Jordan does, and they have to have Chris Paul and James Harden. That has to be a wash for them. I think James Harden can do it. I think he had a pretty relaxed series in the first round. I think he'll have a lot left in the tank, and yeah, maybe J.J. Redick gave him problems during the regular season, but it's going to be a new James Harden come round 2 here, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, the Dwight Howard, DeAndre Jordan matchup could get interesting, could get long if we get some intentional fouls and guys keep going back and forth.
DeAndre's got to stay out of foul trouble because this team is thin.
And I think that's a part of what James Harden's strategy will be. Just get inside, try to get him in foul trouble, get him off the floor, because if he's off the floor, we've seen in that first round series, it's Big Baby Davis and it's Spencer Hawes for the Clippers. That really opens things up, not just for James Harden, but for Dwight to do what he did against the Mavericks, and Josh Smith coming off the bench, Corey Brewer. I think they've just got so many more weapons at their disposal, the Rockets.
Yeah, and they got to the foul line more than any other team, so far in the playoffs. But that being said, they're playing the Mavericks, and the Clippers are in a far. The Clippers go from the Spurs to the Rockets, while the Rockets go from the Mavs to the Clippers. The Clippers are in a better flow, so they're going to have to step up their game. The Rockets are big time to start this series.
I go back to what you sort of just said, about sort of evening each other out. Again, Chris Paul, whether or not he's healthy, that's huge. But if Chris Paul and Harden, okay, maybe they even each other out. DeAndre and Dwight, maybe the same thing happens there. But then I go and I look at the third guy. That's Blake Griffin.
Yeah, for sure.
Somehow still was almost overlooked a little bit what he just did in that 7-game Spurs series. Maybe it's because Chris Paul was just as incredible and had the game winner. Blake Griffin's numbers were bonkers. He's playing on a level we have not seen Blake Griffin play, at least consistently, ever in his NBA career. So that's why, ultimately, I know, again, I'm saying about the Chris Paul injury, but ultimately I lean towards Clips because of Blake.
I'm 100% with you. I think Blake had maybe the most under-the-radar triple-double in a Game 7 you could possibly have. But he just seems like this would be the Clippers' biggest advantage, going against Josh Smith and Terrence Jones. I don't know how they can match him. They were great against Dirk, but this is a different team.
Yeah, but he did play 41 minutes a game in 7 games, and I think that is what's...
So you're just worried a little bit about Burrow?
Yeah, and especially, again, with Chris Paul being injured, that means Blake has to do a lot more, whether he's going to be banging against Terrence Jones and Josh Smith or stepping out and knocking down those jump shots. Eventually, the legs are going to catch up with him. I hope he can perform the way he did against San Antonio, because it'll make a great series, but I just think at some point, that series is really going to play a factor in this series.
Well, Doc is definitely concerned as well, because he's going to be playing his bench more minutes.
He came out. Not an advantage to the Clippers.
It's pause time.
All right, so
He's
Rockets,
fresh anyway.
he's got the Rockets, we got the Clips. Let us know what you guys think on Twitter. #TheStarters with your Rockets Clippers predictions.